boxing.
Beats and rhymes.
No one can do it better.
So some 6 months ago, when the first meeting occurred, Lewis Crocker won by a DQ in the 8th round. Crocker's face was cut up, they're saying from punches, and Paddy Donovan had no issues landing, but he was warned about illegal usage of the head, which Sonny Edwards mentioned. I wasn't so sure he was deliberately using his head like that. I'd have to go back and look at the fight, but the knockdown in the 8th round that led to the DQ, he did continue punching after the bell. Crocker was in no position to continue. It's a difficult sport to predict, boxing, because looking at that Lee Crocker, despite the infringements that Paddy Donovan was warned for and then eventually disqualified for, he was totally outboxing Lee Crocker from that southpaw stance. Then that rush of blood led to him throwing the fight away. Crocker, trained by Billy Nelson, looked novice-like. He really did. Devoid of ideas, looked scared to throw punches. And when there was talk of a rematch, you were thinking, boy, this guy has to improve a whole lot to even be competitive. The rematch happens, and this time it's for the IBF world title at 147. This time, Crocker had a game plan, which wasn't obvious until he scored that knockdown in the 3rd. The punch landed partially round the back of the head, but it was scored a legit knockdown. It was a counter punch. When Paddy was attacking from his left-hand side, he was leaving his right-hand side exposed, and he paid twice, once in the 3rd and once in the 5th with that left hook. The second knockdown was a heavy knockdown, near identical to the first knockdown. He'd done well to get back up from it. The bell rang, but in all truth, the knockdowns were nearly immaterial in my opinion, because apart from that, Crocker sat back for too long waiting for them counter-punching opportunities. It was no different from the first fight where he needed to punch with Paddy a lot more. He needed to up his punch output. It was no different to the first fight, only he was a little more organized. He had a game plan, and it did work twice. But you can't tell me that he outpointed Paddy Donovan. In my opinion, I think Paddy won the fight. Now, it has to be relatively close with 2 10-8 rounds. Now, while Paddy's punches didn't have the same effect they did in the first fight, Crocker chose to go back to the ropes and just let Paddy get off. Paddy was placing his shots. His punches didn't seem as hard as they did in March, but he was putting them together in combinations. And when he caught on what Crocker's game plan was, Crocker didn't come close to landing power shots that caused the knockdowns in 3 and 5. Paddy was taking that little step back. He wasn't getting greedy, and he was punching and moving. When the ring announcer said split decision, I knew it was going on, and I knew it was going on even before they said split decision. When Eddie Hearn said he didn't think it was controversial, you get thoughts in your head of what you think is going on, but it is what it is. Now, Paddy, being a Republican boy, he was on enemy territory in Belfast, Northern Ireland. And for anyone starts, I'm not talking about the past conflicts. I'm just talking about in terms of one side against the other. That's it, in sporting competition. The event took place in Windsor Park, Belfast, where Carmen AGYARKO was lucky, in my opinion, to keep his unbeaten record against Ismail Davis at 154. There was a knockdown in the 12th. AGYARKO found himself on the canvas. Yes, he was falling to the canvas off balance, but a punch did assist and speed up his descension to the canvas. So that is a knockdown. A lot of people don't like to call a knockdown like that a knockdown. Go look up the rules. Did a punch assist him on the route to the canvas? Yes, he landed a legit punch while AGYARKO was still up. Even though he was falling to the canvas, he was still up. That's a knockdown. Ismail, he was the aggressor. AGYARKO, his right eye was basically closed shut, maybe from around the 8th or 9th, and he seemed to fight even harder. But his hand speed is what the judges must have went for. He had the quicker hands, and he did throw some speedy combos, and he had success boxing on the back foot. But did he have enough to claim a victory? It depends what you like. The aggression from Ismail, and perhaps the heavier punches, the more thudding punches from Ismail, or the quicker counters from AGYARKO. It was a good fight though. And the Belfast man, Black Thunder, Ismail Davis is the Black Panther. The Belfast man got the decision. So a little hometown cooking in both fights. Yeah, that's what I'm going to put it down to. I think there was a little bias in them decisions. You have to ask yourself if Paddy is destined to become a world champion. And you can see how disappointed he was after the first fight, and he was equally disappointed Saturday gone. But Billy Nelson, they did their homework, and Lee Crocker did look a better fighter this time around, definitely so. Even though he didn't throw enough punches, for my money. His feet were a lot better. His upper body movement was a lot better. But you have to say, Paddy wasn't prepared for the counter punching from Crocker, and perhaps got a little confident, spurred on from his success from the first fight, and he got caught out twice. Rubber match? Nah, close the book on that one. Well done to Lee Crocker. He is now world champion in the first world title fight contested by two Irishmen. He called out Conor BENN, and Eddie obviously has options on Crocker. He'd be keen to make that, but Conor has committed himself to the Eubank 2 fight, so he won't be contesting world titles for a little while. Lord knows how Conor can focus from being a near-on middleweight for how long now? Over a period of 2 fights, and then he's going to boil back down to 147 and be successful. I mean, Chris's dad was talking about the risks he's taking at 35, fighting at 160. Rehydration clauses. Conor can find himself going into equal territory messing with the weights like that. And if Chris beats him conclusively for the second time, he's going to be in no man's land. Going to be a long way back for Paddy Donovan. Lewis Crocker, he done what he had to do. I'm very surprised that Lewis Crocker has become a world champion, not because he beat Paddy, but when I look how he performed against Conor Walker, and I thought Conor won that fight, and they gave Lewis Crocker a UD, I thought Conor Walker won the fight. And that's domestic British level. Conor BENN, Conor has opted for the money fights, but you know, it's also a legacy fight as well with Chris Eubank. But if he had went back down to 147 and targeted Lee Crocker, he'd have an excellent chance of becoming world champion.
Boxing.
Beats and rhymes.
No one can do it better.
Like I told you, Canelo don't close down the stretch the way he would need to be able to beat Bud. Bud is a deep water shark, and he gets better as the fight goes on. Where Canelo, he don't have bad stamina, but it's not where a guy's like Bud is. Bud don't even be breathing in fights. Watch him close. He don't even be breathing in there.
You can see it in the corner.
Yeah, his conditioning level is like crazy. And he's smiling at Canelo, and Canelo breathing and his body gyrating.
Sticking his tongue out, mentally messing with him.
He's pushing as hard as he can, and Bud just in cruise control. That fucks with your brain, man.
Man, I'm almost tired of praising Bud Crawford and his performance. But not tired enough. Let's go. Let's talk about the lateral movement. His ability to throw punches from the angles he created, keeping his head off that center line.
The combination, the jab, the uppercut.
That left uppercut, unblockable punch, that backhand, them accurate left hooks. His dexterity is crazy. His start weight is 135. 33 pounds heavier. He was still throwing really hard punches in there. Canelo looked like a plodder. He was reduced to winging over right hands, which was never going to retrieve the fight for him. And the punches that did get through to the head, they didn't move Bud. They talk about the body work Canelo did, and that's why they had the fight so close, I'm assuming. Well, the body work didn't break Crawford down and leave him prey to a late surge from Canelo. That didn't happen. And what about Bud's body work? Bud didn't do no body work? To the judges, to the people who scored the fight close, tell me one sequence in the fight where Canelo put 2 punches together consecutively. Just one sequence. Michael said Canelo looked old in there, father time. See, what you got to remember, man, Canelo had a lot of fights, bro. I had a great career. And you see that Saudi money make people take fights that they wouldn't normally take, right? He looked slow in there. He looked slow. Bud was seeing what he was going to do from a mile off. He landed one body shot at a time here and there, a headshot here and there, but he couldn't put nothing together because Bud read him like a book. Canelo turned away from the action a few times, not because he was hurt, or at least not hurt badly, but he was bewildered by Bud's hand speed and the fact he couldn't land no telling shots. In the 9th, when Bud started putting them combinations together like he was looking for a stoppage, Canelo's head went in there. A lot of people say accidentally, and I believe the initial contact was accidental. But when he was there, he kept his head right there, didn't he? He was desperate. The headbutt caused the cut on Bud's eye, 9th round. I'm not saying Bud was going to stop Canelo, but Canelo bought himself vital seconds to get himself together and get through that round. Yeah. But Bud, even though he was cut, Bud by now had settled into a groove, and there was no return for Canelo. And let's not forget that 4-inch reach advantage really played a part in Crawford establishing that jab, doubling it up, trebling it up. Great fundamental side-to-side movement, everything coming off the jab. Beautiful.
To the winner, by unanimous decision, the Fighting Pride of Omaha, Nebraska, USA, and no Ring Magazine, an undisputed super middleweight champion of the world, Terrence Bud Crawford.
Mention me one. You since mention me one elite fighter. Just one.
You.
Oh, me.
Look.
It's gonna be me.
I don't care about nobody else.
And you will see that.
You. So when I beat you, is you gonna be a nobody? When I stuff a mud hole in your ass, is you gonna be a nobody? You gonna be just like everybody else. Watch. Watch. Same shit that everybody else been saying since I moved to 147. I ain't fought nobody. Every last one of them stump a mud hole in their ass and he gonna be next. Watch.
For all of those keep saying he ain't fought no one, you know the people who overanalyze boxing and take away fighters' accomplishments when boxing is the hardest sport in the world? Klimov, 16-0. Ricky Burns was 36-2-1. What was Gamboa? 28-0. Gamboa. Gamboa hurt him. He was way more experienced than Bud at the time. He might have been smaller, but he was more experienced. Postal, 28-0. Ndongo was 22-0. He had 2 straps. Prove to me I ain't fought nobody. Jeff Horn, 18-0-1, undefeated. Jose Benavidez, 27-0, undefeated. Kavaliauskas, 21-0, undefeated. This is him defending that welterweight title now. Then beat Sean Porter. Errol Spence, 28-0, right? That's for the undisputed welterweight title. Is there any science behind what you're saying that Bud ain't fought? Bud fought people, bruh, and they beat Canelo. What's that? 3 times 4-belt undisputed champion. 3 times. Carlos Adames was online, and I had to back him up. He said Bud could do something that no one's ever done before that could make him greater than Sugar Ray Leonard. And they started laughing at him. Oh, stop posting. What? I said, why should he stop posting? What did he say that was wrong? Now, it's his opinion for a start. You can have a different opinion. But if Bud wins, there are arguments that he's greater than Sugar Ray Leonard. Yo, Bud didn't shrink the light heavyweight champion down to super middle to win 2 titles in a single fight. He didn't do that. That's what Leonard did. Bud had way more fights than Sugar Ray Leonard. Been undisputed in more weight classes than Sugar Ray Leonard. Bud etches his name into all-time greatness in boxing, even though he'd done that already before he beat Canelo. Everybody they put in front of him has been dealt with. Canelo didn't really push Bud as hard as I expected. I'm not sure if we've ever seen Bud pushed to the point where we've seen him have to go all out, empty the tank. It's a bit cliched, but at times it was a sparring session. Kavaliauskas gave Bud more of a shootout than Canelo did. Madrimov, technically, was a lot better than Canelo. Not just a little bit, but a lot better than Canelo. And Madrimov lost his last fight to Virgil Ortiz.
He deserves all the credit. No, I try my best tonight. I just cannot figure out the style. He have everything. I try my best tonight.
Canelo was gracious in defeat. I'll give him that. But in some ways, it's a more positive sign if a boxer who loses like Canelo did comes out and says, I was robbed. I want an immediate rematch. Now, a reply like that, after losing comprehensively like that, is almost certainly a sign of delusion. But it could also be a sign that the fighter still has a lot of fire in his belly. I'm guessing the loss was cushioned by the bumper payday he got. Is it time for Canelo to spend more time on the golf course and with his kids and with his wife?
Compare and contrast the fight between yourself and Floyd Mayweather Jr. and tonight's bout with Terrence Bud Crawford, if you can.
No, I think Crawford is way better than Floyd Mayweather.
Canelo also said that Crawford is better than Mayweather. They're going to say Floyd has the names. But then again, Bob Arum protected Pacquiao from Crawford and admitted it on several occasions. Freddie Roach, he admitted Manny was being protected from Crawford. I'm paraphrasing, but that's essentially what he said. PBC buds, Garcia and Thurman both priced themselves out. Didn't want the smoke. Sean Porter and Spence stepped up for the PBC. And they both got stopped for the first and only times in their career. But he's fought nobody. Like, I don't know if people really know Crawford's career like that. When he was 140-pound champion, he was still struggling to get fights. And the PBC sent Felix Diaz over there. Felix Diaz was giving Lamont Peterson that work. And he was a good fighter, a Dominican fighter. And he was giving Bud issues early. But Bud's adjustment game is what has separated him from the pack. This is why he's pound for pound number one in the sport. His adjustments.
No one can do it better.
And Bud gave that man such a beating. I'll never forget it. And Diaz was a good fighter. Anyone telling you Bud Crawford hasn't fought nobody is a fucking liar. Well, they don't know what they're talking about.
My gut say the same thing. You know, I'm going to sit down with my team and we're going to discuss what's next in the future for Terrence Crawford. Who knows? I might go down to 160.
Crawford hinted at moving down to 160. Will he go up to middleweight? Adames, Johnny Beck, Lara? These are difficult fights. But that's what boxing's all about. If he's not going to retire, I'm guessing he's just going to challenge himself to try and become undisputed at another weight class. I don't think light heavy, so 160.
Yes!
If he was to become undisputed at 160, they would have to be checking for traces of alien DNA. Roy Jones, he said that Bud could walk away from the sport right now. I believe Roy put him in the top 5 or top 7 all-time great fighters. In general, I don't get much from discussing who's better from this era and that era. But like I say, just to have your name in the discussion should say enough about who you are as a fighter.
Boxing
beats and rhymes.
No one can do it better.